All right, this is it. Welcome to day 9, the final push in our AZ-900 fast track. Today is all about taking control. We're going to master the tools that let you truly command the Azure cloud. This is what separates a user from an admin. So let's lock it in and finish strong. And when I say everything in Azure, I mean it. In just the next few minutes, we're talking Portal, CLI, ARM, and even Arc. This is the stuff that controls the whole shebang. Getting this down is absolutely critical, not just for your exam, but for actually working with Azure in the real world. Let's get this locked in. Okay, Chapter 1, your Azure Cockpit. We're starting with the most intuitive way to get your hands on Azure, the graphical interface. From the visual controls right down to the integrated shell. So first up is the Azure Portal. The best way to think about it? It's literally the dashboard for your cloud car. You can see everything at a glance, all the dials, all the buttons, and you can manage pretty much anything with just a click. And the power you have here is, well, it's huge. You can build, manage, and monitor everything from a tiny web app to a massive global network. You can even create these awesome custom dashboards so your most important stuff is always right there in front of you. And because it's Azure, you know it's built to be super resilient and available. Okay, so the portal is great for clicking around, but what happens when you need the speed and power of the command line? For scripting and automating things. Do you really have to leave the portal to do that? Nope. Meet the Azure Cloud Shell. This thing is a game changer. It's a full-on shell tool right inside your browser that you can pop open with a single click from the portal. It's the best of both worlds, for real. And the perks are just fantastic. You don't have to install a single thing on your own machine. It's already authenticated to your account, so you can just jump right in. And the best part? You get to pick your flavor, PowerShell or Bash, whatever you're comfortable with. All right, Chapter 2, Commanding the Cloud. We're going to speak directly to Azure now, using the command line with CLI and PowerShell. This is where we get into serious speed, precision, and automation. First, let's talk Azure PowerShell. It's a shell that uses these little commands called CMDlets to get things done. Think of it like speaking the engine's native language. If you've ever worked in a Windows environment or with .NET, this is going to feel super familiar. It's perfect for building out automation scripts. And then we have its counterpart, the Azure CLI. Functionally, it does the exact same stuff as PowerShell. The big difference is that it uses Bash commands. So if you're coming from a Linux or Mac background, this is probably going to be your go-to. Okay, exam watch, pay close attention here because this is the #1 question you'll see. PowerShell or CLI? Which one do I choose? And honestly, the answer is way simpler than you think. Here's the deal for the AZ-900. They can both do the same jobs. The only real difference is the syntax, how you type the commands. PowerShell uses that verb-noun style, new as VM. The CLI is more like AZ Resource Action, so AZVM create. So which do you pick? It's 100% based on your background and what feels more natural to you. That's it. For the exam, they're equals. Okay, moving on to Chapter 3, the Master Blueprint. Now brace yourselves because we're talking about a concept that will literally change how you think about the cloud. Infrastructure as code. We're talking about defining your entire cloud setup in a code file. And the engine that makes all this possible is the Azure Resource Manager, or ARM. Think of ARM as the front door to Azure. Every single request you make, whether it's a click in the portal, a PowerShell command, or a CLI command, it has to go through ARM. So how does it work? It's actually pretty simple. You make a request from whatever tool you're using, ARM steps in, checks who you are, and makes sure you have permission. Then it passes that action along to the right Azure service. This is why everything stays consistent, no matter how you're managing Azure. And that central control point is what makes infrastructure as code, or IAC, possible. The core principle here is huge. Manage your infrastructure through declarative templates rather than scripts. So what does declarative actually mean? Exam watch. I can almost guarantee you'll see a question on this. ARM templates are declarative. This is different from a script, which is imperative. With declarative, you just define the what, the final state you want. You say, I want a virtual machine with these specs. You don't tell it how to build it. Azure Resource Manager figures out the how all by itself. So what is an ARM template? It's just a JSON file, but it's a very special JSON file that declaratively defines all the resources you want to deploy. The best analogy is a factory blueprint for your cloud. You hand over the blueprint, and ARM builds everything exactly to spec, perfectly, every single time. It's repeatable and reliable. Now, let's be honest. Writing JSON by hand can be a little tedious. It's verbose, it's complex. That's why Microsoft created Bicep. Bicep is a much simpler, cleaner language that's way easier to read and write. But here's the cool part. It's just a transparent layer on top of ARM. You write an easy Bicep, and it turns into the powerful ARM template behind the scenes. All right, final chapter. Chapter 4, Control Beyond Azure. Now for a really cool idea. What if you could take all this awesome Azure management power and use it on servers that aren't even in Azure? I'm talking about extending that control plane with Azure Arc. That's exactly what Azure Arc is for. It's the universal remote for your entire IT garage. With Arc, you can bring your on-premises servers, the physical ones sitting in your own data center, or even your servers running in other clouds like AWS or Google, and manage them all right from the Azure Portal. It's one single control plane for everything. And once you've Arc-enabled a resource, you can treat it just like it was born in Azure. We're talking about managing your Windows and Linux servers, your Kubernetes clusters, even your SQL servers. It doesn't matter where they physically live. They all show up in Azure, ready for you to manage. Okay, that was a ton of information. Let's do a final exam lockdown, a rapid-fire review of the key takeaways to make sure this all sticks. Ready? Let's go. Portal? That's your graphical dashboard. Cloud Shell, your command line in the browser. CLI versus PowerShell, it's all about your choice of syntax, bash or verb noun. ARM, the central management brain for all requests. ARM templates, those are your declarative, what not how JSON blueprints. Bicep, the simpler, concise language that makes writing ARM templates easy. And finally, Azure Arc, it extends ARM management out to your on-prem and multi-cloud gear. Got it? And just like that, you've reached the end of the fast track. You now know how to control Azure from a dashboard, a command line, or a blueprint. You have all the power at your fingertips. So the only question left is, which tool are you going to master first to build your future in the cloud? Congratulations on making it through, and best of luck on that exam.